Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I gotta give you guys an update because recently on this channel, we covered the store closure of a Walgreens in Massachusetts, specifically the one in the Roxbury area, and how people were out in force demanding that Walgreens lose money, take it on the chin, let people in this black neighborhood steal, otherwise they were gonna declare them evil white racist. Now, this was ridiculous, this was absurd. Throughout the whole course of that video, I explained to you how theft was the driving force behind this.
While this isn't the only Walgreens or pharmacy chain set to close location in the coming weeks, Curry says it begs this question.
What is your obligation? What is your expectation as a corporate citizen to do what's right for those communities beyond what's right just for your bottom line?
And now the Walgreens is closed, and therefore the story is done. No, just kidding. Apparently it is not done. Now they've gotten Ayanna Pressley on board to demand that this Walgreens remain open. She's calling them evil white racists, and this is all due in large part to the fact that people just like Ayanna Pressley, congresswomen who are Democrats, who happen to be insanely left-wing progressive, don't want to do anything about criminality. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over at naturaljusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
Walgreens is planning to close yet another pharmacy in the Massachusetts 7th, this time on Warren Street in Roxbury, a community that is 85% black and Latino. This closure is a part of a larger trend of abandoning low-income communities like the previous closures in Mattapan and Hyde Park, both in the Massachusetts 7th.
So one of the things that I find to be absolutely amazing about this is that this is a speech given by a congresswoman in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill to other members of Congress. She is reaching out to the Congress, the national federal government, the federal legislature, to talk about how Walgreens is abandoning the black and brown communities in this particular area in Boston's or Massachusetts' 7th district, which I'm assuming is her district, and a quick look up shows us that yes, this is district. Now, is that surprising to anyone out there in the audience that the same district that would be stealing from these Walgreens over and over again would elect Ayanna Pressley, this woke left-wing progressive who is in favor of people stealing and looting from places like Walgreens, is somebody who supported the Black Lives Matter riots? Absolutely not. You are getting what you voted for, and sending your congresswoman to bitch and moan on the House floor about it is not going to do anything to keep the Walgreens open. But Ayanna Pressley will go on regardless.
When a Walgreens leaves a neighborhood, they disrupt the entire community, and they take with them baby formula, diapers, asthma inhalers, life-saving medications, and of course, jobs.
Yes, when Walgreens closes, they take away baby formula, they take away access to medicine, they take away all these different things, but where I completely disagree with you, Ayanna Pressley, is A, who's at fault, and B, your next ridiculous, insane, stupid assertion.
These closures are not arbitrary, and they are not innocent. They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination. That is why I joined with Senator Markey and Warren to demand answers from Walgreens CEO.
No, absolutely not. This is not economic and racial discrimination. If you are in a location where theft is up, and by the way, even according to that left-wing source where they try to say shoplifting is down in comparison to 2019 numbers, the pre-Black Lives Matter numbers, the city of Boston has shoplifting specifically up. And the neighborhoods, by the way, that they cite where shoplifting is even more up disproportionately are these very specific neighborhoods, and they cite those very specific Walgreens closings as examples of the consequences of theft being up. So Walgreens is not discriminating against you because you're black, because you're Hispanic, or anything like that. And it would be absurdly stupid, which is why Ayanna Pressley said it, to say that and assert that in good faith. In reality, I got shocking news for you, Ayanna Pressley. If you're running a profitable location, you don't close just because the customer base happens to be black and or Hispanic. But if your location, despite the fact that it has heavy foot traffic, which we, by the way, have documented on this channel before, is not making money, that is likely due to another factor, and since that other factor is widely reported, which is theft, then maybe you should decide that you want to address the retail theft, the Walgreens being victimized, and all the people who are stealing from their community, who are making this Walgreens less profitable, instead of complaining about the end point, the end result, which is the store closing after it's not profitable because you keep stealing from the store.
Why was there no community input, no adequate notice to customers, and no transition insufficient resources to prevent gaps in healthcare. Shame on you, Walgreens. Having a website with talking points about health equity and underserved communities is not enough.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Is this really what we have to deal with? So Walgreens announces that they're closing. They announced that they're closing months in advance. So far in advance, by the way, that they have all these idiot protesters going out and protesting the Walgreens rather than the politicians that let the thieves run wild that actually caused this location to not be profitable in the first place. And during that course of time, Ayanna Pressley is mad at them because they didn't provide resources to the community for them to deal with the transition of this Walgreens closing, as if Walgreens is obligated to do so. And by the way, people have actually pointed out this to me in my previous videos comments, that Walgreens, like CVS, actually has home delivery of medication. So if you need your medication, you can actually order it online and it will be delivered to your door. This is actually resources being provided to help people transition through the harsh time of Walgreens closing due to the fact that the community never valued the Walgreens in the first place. By the way, this is the same thing that this woman decided that she doesn't care about. She's not going to talk about, and she's going to demand a hearing with 2 senators and her to complain at Walgreens for not allowing the people in this area to loot the store in perpetuity.
Walgreens is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that needs to put their money where their mouth is and stop divesting from black and brown communities.
Yeah, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and the way that they got to be a multi-billion-dollar corporation is by being profitable, by making money, not by losing money, not by letting people in your district loot from the store in perpetuity. And if you want to point the finger at anybody, it should be your own constituents, your own people that you're advocating for right now, that you're calling the victims, are the ones who allowed this store to be looted to such an extent that it went out of business. You can also address your local government. Your mayor is more interested in having racist parties that don't involve white people than actually policing the streets, actually addressing the retail theft. And unsurprisingly, retail stores close because guess what? Electeds of color parties do not actually make the business more profitable. Driving down theft, arresting criminals, that actually works. That actually ends up stabilizing an area. So you allowed this area to be driven into poverty based on your ideology, based on the fact that you thought the police were the enemies, and now you're complaining on the House floor about the natural response that you were warned about well in advance, that you've had years of warnings about, you've had other stores close, and you just don't want to talk about it. You don't want to address it. That's not the big issue.
The Warren Street Walgreens is locked up, closed down for good. The disabled and seniors say it is sickening. They'll suffer the most. In the middle of the day, it took us 8 minutes to drive to the Columbus Avenue alternate Walgreens.
Now look, I do feel bad for the elderly people in this particular area, and I know you can get at-home delivery of pharmaceuticals, but the fact of the matter is, Walgreens is so much more than just a pharmacy to these people. It's where they get some water, it's where they get soap, laundry detergent, all kinds of different products, because this also functions as a grocery store, and ripping that away from elderly people who have to now walk to new locations in order to get that stuff is very sad. But the thing is, I lay the blame at the criminals, the people who are actually committing the crimes, the people who are making these stores less profitable, not the business that's reacting to it.
Mayor, the representatives, Ayanna Pressley, please keep on these people for letting these things in Roxbury close. It's a shame.
And by the way, I also lay the blame on the voters, because this is the attitude from the constituents of Ayanna Pressley. And when you meet people like this on the street, you kind of understand why they voted for a congresswoman like this in order to represent them.
Mayor, the representatives, Ayanna Pressley, please keep on these people for letting these things in Roxbury close.
So yeah, this is the exact same attitude that allows somebody like Ayanna Pressley to go to the halls of Congress to complain about Walgreens closing in her district. This woman right here is saying, go get them, Ayanna, go get those evil white racists, rather than looking inward, rather than looking at her own children, their own behavior, her neighbors, their neighbors' children's behavior, and the actual people that are responsible for these particular problems. This is the exact kind of person who, no matter what, will vote for Ayanna Pressley, because Ayanna Pressley represents her. She fights back, even though Ayanna Pressley is going in the complete and utter wrong direction, and in reality, her problems are far more solvable by adjusting her own behavior, and by the way, voting for better politicians on a local level that will actually hold these thieves accountable. But she lays all the blame on Walgreens, all the blame on all the stores that are closing, never once asking herself why all these businesses are closing. I mean, seriously, really think about this if you're out there in the audience. You have a bunch of stores. one of them closes. Presumably, the other stores would be able to absorb the business from that location, but then another store closes. And instead of more and more business being concentrated in single locations, what ultimately ends up happening is all of these stores get wiped out, and that's because they're being targeted by thieves. This is not an instance where competition is the most driving force behind this. Obviously, that plays a factor. Obviously, location selection and all of that. I'm not saying it's 100% down to theft, but it appears that theft is the game-breaking decision for these different companies, and that's why they're being closed, and that's why this particular area has been cited over and over again by the very same reports that are trotted out by the left wing to say shoplifting is down nationwide, but actually show it being up in Boston and specifically name these neighborhoods and these locations and these closures as proof of that problem.
Avenue alternate Walgreens all are now eligible for free same-day home delivery.
But that's not enough. We asked them for $10 million so that seniors would have transportation from their home to the pharmacy.
So think about this. So Walgreens actually guaranteed same-day delivery to all these other customers from their other location as a way to compensate for their customer base that they're losing in part, again, due to theft. And this guy says that this activist, who we actually talked about in the previous video, that's not enough, and he wants $10 million. Pay me $10 million after we robbed your store so much that it was out of business. But it's actually gonna get worse. It's actually gonna get more absurd because they actually want to sue Walgreens because this location is no longer profitable, because people keep stealing, because they say their closure has a disparate impact on black communities.
No, it's not over. No, it's not over.
After a month-long protest to try to save the Warren Street Walgreens, community members now want to sue.
The basis of the suit is what they call disparate impact. We know that they've been building and establishing Village Medical at Walgreens in the suburbs.
Yeah, that's right. So because Walgreens is expanding to provide minimal healthcare services to other locations, they're going to sue them based on racial discrimination, not based on the fact that they're losing money in these locations because people largely in this neighborhood who happen to be black are stealing from these locations, saying that they're denying them healthcare and they're not acknowledging the disparate impact of them not losing money, letting black people steal from their stores. That is actually the argument that this guy wants to put forward in a lawsuit. And guess what? Who I mentioned earlier is right on board with them, backing them up, the mayor.
It is communities who have the least other options of where to get their medications filled, where the pharmacies are closing. Absurd
And ridiculous. The fact that you have the mayor right here, the wokest mayor of all time, the I'm not going to prosecute anyone for anything, I'm going to go soft and not fund the police, not send the police into this particular area, talking about the disparate impact. You're responsible for the disparate impact. You're the one who said it was evil white racism. We need to have our exclusive no whites parties because that's going to solve something, and not address the actual issue. It is on you. It's on your head. You're the problem, not Walgreens. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing about how, oh my God, the poor people in this black neighborhood are being disproportionately impacted. How can we figure out a way to force Walgreens to let them steal when in reality, you could have solved these problems by actually punishing the criminals. You decided to wrap the entire fate of the black community or of this black community in the fate of their criminals, in how well they are to get away with crimes, and this is the result. And you were warned about this time and time again. We've had research on this that has gone back decades in this country, and you poked that in the eye. You said you knew better, and guess what? You didn't, and now you're trying to sue over it, and I'm not having it. It's nonsense. It was nonsense when you were crying a month ago, and it's nonsense right now, and I hope your lawsuit gets dismissed with extreme prejudice, and you end up owing Walgreens lawyer fees. We really need to institute that, because this frivolous nonsense, these idiotic congressmen, these idiotic politicians and activists are too much, and they need to actually feel some consequences for their idiocy for once. But hey, those are just my thoughts, so let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absurdity of this Walgreens story. Till next time.